This topic is the number one reason why I think a lot of sellers struggle on eBay. And I want to talk to you about that here on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin' Ain't Easy, and today I wanted to make a video about something I was thinking about when I was out in New Mexico. So over the Labor Day weekend, we took a trip out to New Mexico, and it's a very rural area out in Ruidoso, New Mexico. Beautiful area, but there's no yard sales. I checked on Sunday to see if there are any yard sales that maybe I could hit in the area, and there really weren't any. And that's a big problem for a lot of people, in that you just don't have enough places to find stuff to sell on eBay. If I lived out in that area, I don't think I could even make a living or even do it part-time, because the sourcing is just so limited. And yeah, while they may have a yard sale here and there, it's just not the way they do things out there. So it just kind of got me to thinking in that out here in Vegas during the summer months, the 110, 115, 120 sometimes degree weather prevents us from really being able to source, because there's a lack of yard sales. Maybe, there's a handful, like maybe 4 or 5 that are advertised on the yard sale app. And we're talking a 2 million population out in this valley. That's not very many, and you have a lot of people who are reselling who are going to be going to these yard sales, and you can imagine how picked through things are now as compared to, say, in the spring months and in the fall, where the weather gets a little bit better and there are going to be more yard sales. So for me, aside from my normal sourcing methods, yard sales are going to pick up for me, and that's going to be a good thing. But one thing I was thinking about is those of you who live in areas where right now is the best time for yard sales, the summer months, the late spring, early fall. And as weather starts changing for some of you guys out in those areas where as we get into the fall, the weather is going to start changing for the worse. Well, fewer and fewer yard sales are going to be available to you, and at a certain point, you're not going to be able to do yard sales at all. As it stands, we're going to Cincinnati for the reseller rally, and we're hopeful that on the Saturday, I believe that is the 30th, and on the 1st of November, or October that is, we're going to be able to hit some yard sales out in that area. But I don't know what the weather's going to be like in that neck of the woods. So will there be a lot of yard sales? I'm kind of hoping for some yard sales, because I think that would be kind of a cool thing to do, and to maybe meet up with some of you guys who might be at the rally or in that area. But the topic of this video is buying bad. Now, of course, when you have a lack of buying opportunities, that's really out of your control. All you can really do is really dig deeper, and maybe that means you go into liquidation. Maybe that means you do some more time buying stuff at bin stores if you don't have your yard sales that maybe you're used to dealing with. But you have to have a plan, and that's the first step. I think the biggest problem that a lot of people have when it comes to selling on eBay is the way they buy. Sometimes they buy because they feel like they don't have the opportunities like some of other people might have, and so they're more willing to take a risk and or buy stuff that they probably shouldn't be buying in the first place. And a lot of the type of stuff that we talk about that really isn't any longer, at least currently, the type of items that you want to buy. Now, it's been some time that I've been talking about this, but the idea that you should be focusing on need items versus want items, it isn't an absolute idea, meaning that, if you find some really nice collectible stuff that has some value, you should be passing on it. That's not what I'm saying. I think a lot of us, we tend to buy what looks like it might actually be profitable, but we have no concrete proof to back it up. And when I say concrete proof, either we've sold it before recently and we know it has value, there's no need to look that kind of a thing up, or we just haven't bothered to look it up and we're just relying on, wow, that's cute, or that looks nice, that looks new, or whatever it is, and we don't take the time. And I know a lot of you don't like to whip out your phone at the yard sale and to look up comps, right? You'll just kind of do it when you get home kind of thing. But I think that's the worst way to go. And then you end up with merchandise that you list in your store and it just doesn't sell, or it doesn't sell for what you thought it was going to be worth. And yet you pay up. I think sometimes when we have a lack of sourcing opportunities, it causes us to pay up. And especially this time of year when people are gearing up for Q4, you see this with liquidation all the time. Lots of liquidation in the past when I would buy pallets would be a lot more expensive right before Q4 because you have a lot of people that are gearing up to try to get a lot of merchandise to really ramp up for Q4. So, and I don't know how that's going to affect my business because I don't buy in large pallets anymore. So I'm buying piece by piece. I'm going to yard sales. I'm doing other things, and I will be going to yard sales. So I'll be adding that to my current repertoire. But I just think sometimes when we are encountering a lack of resources, we tend to overreact and overbuy and buy bad. And when I say buy bad, I mean that you're buying things where you're not giving yourself enough room to really have maneuverability within the things that we deal with on eBay, such as markdown sales, coupons, and the dreaded promoted listing rates that are ever increasing. And the lower you can buy for, so that's buying good, right? I can buy this item for $1, whereas my competition might be paying $5. I'm going to have a lot more room to really work within these parameters that we sometimes complain about, or quite often complain about on eBay. But it gives us more opportunities to be successful with this type of merchandise. And I think too many people, just from the store reviews I do and talking with other sellers out there, they're into product for too much money, and they're really reliant on that price that they saw. Maybe they looked it up, right? And they still paid too much money for it. And then a lot of these people, like the person that reached out to me wanting to know why I was selling my item so cheap, because I was able to. If I have an item that's I'm only into it for $5, you're selling it for 80, I can go down to 40 or 50. It may not be good for the market, but you know what? I'm not here for the market. I'm here to make money. I'm here to flip items. I'm here to get as much as I can based on what the market is willing to pay. I'm not interested in keeping my items in a store for months upon months upon months. I've got another store that does that, and it's not very good, guys. I've learned what works well for me, and I learned what doesn't, and I don't buy bad anymore, guys. Now, of course, every once in a while, I will go to that yard sale and I'll pick up stuff. We picked up a military tote full of military fatigues and boots and things like that for $60. We made hundreds of dollars on that. These are things you want to look for at yard sales. And on that one, I didn't have to look anything up because these were all authentic items. Most of the items we bought in that lot were brand new, and it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there is going to be money to be made on this lot. And it worked out, right? But I kind of utilized a lot of my own experience when I figured out that buy. If I had doubts, I would have put it aside and would have whipped out my phone and would have pulled up some sold comps just to verify. But you got to use your best judgment, and you have to try to get in as low as you can. Now, there's going to be times you're going to come across sellers at yard sales who may seem to be a bit high on their prices. That's a good time where maybe you can try to bundle, right? So get an idea of, okay, how much do you want for this, or how much do you want for that? See if they're willing to budge. Would you do better if I'm willing to buy more of this stuff? Or you can do what the Art of Resale does, which I like to do, which is simply, okay, how much do you want for all of it? Put it out there. Let them give you a figure, because this is the time of year where I think buying more than you usually do is probably a good thing, because we're going to start running out of time to where your usual sources, and this is going to be in my situation as well, you're going to find that there's going to be more demand from other resellers to buy the same stuff, and it's going to be harder and harder to build up inventory. And I don't think it's a bad thing to have a death pile here in the late Q3, Q4 stage of the game, because you're going to want to have extra inventory as inventory starts to kind of dry up. And I see it happen every year. I just kind of wanted to make this video because there's many ways to buy bad. One is overspending on items. Two is not considering what the market is before you buy that item. And I think three is simply not buying enough in Q3, early Q4. And that's just what my experience has taught me. Hopefully this information is going to be useful to someone, maybe just a kick in the butt to get out there and buy stuff. And maybe your sales are slow, but historically Q4 has usually been better than any other time of the year. So get your stores ready, guys. Get your merchandise, buy good. Don't overspend because you feel like you're not going to have other opportunities. And hopefully we can have a great Q4 and get through past some of the problems that we've been seeing here in the summertime. But trying to figure all this out, what's a good buy versus buying bad, a bad buy, is yet another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you to check out one of these videos here. And I also want to see you guys with us on the live stream Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And until then, have a great rest of your day.